Okay, here we go, guys. I'm back. This is the second quarter analysis of the Florida State spring game. So if you haven't seen the first video, go check that out. But here we are. I'm going to jump right into it. First play of the second quarter, we had Francois uh, having number 5. I didn't have his name at the time. I think I got his name a little bit later. Phillips, I believe is his name. It's somewhere in the third quarter, I think, where I said it, finally found it, on a flag route. So look out for number 5, Phillips. They really wanted to get him and Francois getting a good repertoire going. Want to see these two really getting a good chemistry. So it seems like they're really pushing for that relationship to go. He's looking to be that third receiver, kind of slot position type guy. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. But he had him on a flag route here, or post, one or two, in the middle of the field. And but he leads the receiver too much, Francois does. He throws the ball just a little bit too far out, instead of throwing it more upfield, where the receiver could have ran under it. Now, with that said, it wasn't necessarily a bad throw, but he did lead him up a little bit too much. So even with that, the receiver drops it right off his fingers. So if you get your fingers on it, you know they want you to catch that. You got to help your quarterback out there because he put the ball in a good enough space for you. You just got to catch it. So, but the thing is, it would have been even better if Francois had been able to lead him up the field and he can catch it under, as opposed to having to stretch out a little bit more. That does make the catch harder, but you want your receiver to be able to catch that. So can't put that all on Francois. At the 14-minute 51-second mark, Francois takes a deep shot. But number 37, who also had a really good game in that secondary, the Florida State secondary coach is doing a great job because he's coaching these guys up pretty well. Number 37 had it covered up, but he got a little bit too handsy. He didn't have to get handsy, but he got handsy, and that caused the PI. So unfortunately, a good play is ruined by a penalty. At the 14-minute 15-second mark, Francois throws an excellent ball on a well-routed 10-yard dig route. And if you don't know what a dig route is, it's like when you run about 10 steps up the field and you break down and you cut in. That's a dig route. It's a well-routed 10-yard dig route by Phillips. Like I said, they really wanted to get Phillips the ball on Samuels. That's who number 8 is. He wanted to run that dig route on Samuels, and they got it, and it was really, really well played. Good, well done play. 13-minute 40-second mark. Good protection for Francois. You couldn't say that the whole game, but here we are. Good protection for Francois. He had a pocket. He was able to step up into it. He threw the ball with good anticipation to tight end number 81 on a 10-yard comeback. So the tight end, like I said, they really like to get their tight ends involved in the game. So this is another example of that. At the 12-minute 50-second mark, Francois completed the pass, but the end who was rushing, he should have been given the sack because he got there. He just didn't want to hit him. He just kind of let up, which they told him to do. You don't want to hit your quarterback. But the thing is, Francois got credit for the pass, but it really was a sack. Or it would have been a sack in the game. So the protection kind of broke down there. 12-minute 50-second mark, again, there were 5 on the line of scrimmage again. But this time for the Garnett defense. Remember in the last video I said the gold defense put 6 on the line of scrimmage? Here we are with the Garnett defense putting 5 on the line of scrimmage. Like I said, they like to do that. They like to stack the line of scrimmage and, and kind of win that initial battle. But it's interesting to see what would happen if all of them got blocked well and were able to, open up space right there on that hard set at the beginning. At the 11-minute 55-second mark, the left end is out wide again. Remember I told you they like to put that left end out wide. This is the 3rd time I mentioned it in my notes. So they like to do that quite a bit when they're rushing or just sometimes in random situations. And then on the next play right after that, they did the same thing. The left end is out wide. So that's something interesting to watch out. It'll be interesting to see what they do against Alabama if they like to do that. And how if Alabama would adjust and run that way towards that open space. That would be interesting to see. Francois, he goes to Phillips on that play, number 5. I'm not sure if he was able to complete it or not, but I did know he like I said, that's another example of him trying to develop that chemistry with Phillips, who is number 5. Now, here we are again at the 11-minute 13-second mark. There was 5 men on the line of scrimmage again. So here we say, they like to do that. I know some tendencies here. They like the 2 tight end, 2 wide receiver, fullback, look with the runs. They like to do shotgun run. Which these are normal things, but these are just some things I noticed. And they like to stack the line of scrimmage and put their left hand out wide. So these are things to look for, and probably that Alabama will game plan for in general, as well as with more complicated things. These are just simple things that I noticed. At the 10-minute mark of the second quarter here is another shotgun handoff. And that was the third or fourth time in the game, maybe even more that I didn't notice. The 9 minutes, so they really like to mix up their play calling. Their offense coordinator has a feel for, breaking tendency, having 3 wide receivers here, having a couple tight ends here, um, using your slot receivers well, using routes for your tight ends. They like to kind of mix it up and get different routes and get their receiver and quarterbacks on a good page. At the 9-minute 15-second mark, Francois with the great throw. I've been saying it a bit lately. With a great throw to number 87 on an out route. It was high into the outside, which is exactly what you need on the out route, because if you throw it low into the inside, the defender can jump it and return it for an interception. So the ball has to be high and toward the sideline, so your receiver can be the only one to get a chance to get it. Good play. Doesn't really allow for cutting up the field and getting yak yards, but it does prevent you from having a bad play and possibly the worst possible play, which is an interception return for a touchdown. At the 8-minute 40-second mark, there was tight ends on the play, and they did multiple tight ends. That's why I said it again, the multiple tight end formation, and it was another run. So like I said, when they go multiple tight ends, it seems that the majority of the time they like to run, but this is a spring game. So like I said, this is just some things I noticed, but it is interesting to see. Next play is the same personnel, but Josh Patrick scores here. So it's the same personnel, 2 tight ends. But honestly, in my opinion here, I think he was stopped. He got the touchdown, but I think he was stopped. It doesn't matter because it's a spring game, but I think he was stopped here. But they allowed him to keep pushing and roll until he got the touchdown. 7-minute 57-second mark. Garnett offense also uses the 2 tight end formation in this case. So here's a few plays in a row where these 2 tight ends. They probably want to keep it basic. Don't want to give away too much since the game is televised. Understandable. But I am noticing that this is a formation that they use. 6-minute 50-second mark. Number 10, the true freshman QB comes in. And he's left-handed. Did I say at this moment in the game, 6-minute 50-second mark, he unloaded a throw. It was incomplete, but it was amazing for his arm strength because he was able to get the ball down the field with his left arm, which you usually don't see out a lot of the guys because most quarterbacks in Division I aren't left-handed. And then the next play, the right tackle for this the Garnet offense, number 74, he was beat easily as well by a rush from the right. So there's been a few times in the game where both the tackles on both ends of the team have been beaten easily by the rushers. So that'll be something to look out for as the summer progresses and as the fall comes along. At the 6-minute 31-second mark of the second quarter, another I formation play. And I formation is when you have quarterback under center, fullback right behind him, and a halfback behind the fullback. It's a play action pass, but the defense locked it up pretty well. Then at the 5-minute 53-second mark, there's another shotgun handoff. So this is, I think, maybe the 6th or 7th time I noticed that this is a tendency of Florida State to use their shotgun formation with 3 wide receivers and then hand the ball off. I believe it may have been to Patrick again in this case. Yeah, it was to Patrick. At the 5-minute 10-second mark, the offensive line gave Francois time to throw here. But he had to check down because the defensive secondary did a pretty good job of covering up all the deeper routes. So that's maybe the 3rd or 4th time I've said that as well. The secondary is looking good, even though they have injuries in that place. And then once that series ended, they brought back in the true freshman QB, number 10, and the left-handed guy. And he looks down the sideline. He lofts a ball down the sideline. So he's showing off his arm strength again. The ball wasn't underthrown in this case, but slightly in. And when you're throwing the ball down the sideline or down the field and you're lofting it in the air, you usually want to throw it high and toward the sideline so that the ball doesn't get in the way of the defender. Because if it does, it can be knocked down or picked or tipped, and nothing's good happens when the ball is tipped. So when you want to see your quarterback put the ball toward the outside, It showed his arm strength though that he was able to get the ball down the field, but the placement has to be a little bit better. But he's a true freshman, so I doubt that it matters at this point in his career, but that is something to look out for if they're looking for him to be the starter somewhere down the road. At the 4 minute 10 second mark, it was another shotgun handoff, so that's number 8, I believe. The 3 minute 47 second mark, there's 5 people on the line of scrimmage again, so that's just a tendency that they like to use, and it was the goal defense. Um, and this time, actually, they put the right end way on the outside, and I said way with a lot of Y's in this case because I think on this play, was it Burns? Yeah, it was Burns. Brian Burns, number 99. They had him really far to the right, outside of the tackle, actually. So they left a big space between him and the defensive tackle. But they do like to use that wide end formation. It's reminiscent of the Philadelphia Eagles when they used to do that with Babin and I can't remember the other guy. Was it Connor? I don't remember. But they would set their ends out wide when they run the rush the passer. They also put the DB really up close on the tight end. I think the DB in this case was Derwin James. So when they spread out their ends out far, they like to bring somebody up to the line of scrimmage and put tight coverage on the tight ends or H-back or whoever's there. I don't know necessarily the scheme knowledge for why you would do that, but that is something that they like to do. 2 minute 13 second mark of the second quarter, they came in with the blitz and it got in pretty fast. And that was just something to note because these guys, when they blitz, they show off a lot of speed. They recruit speed, and it shows on their blitz plays like these. The 1 minute 53 second mark, Francois had a nice pocket again, and this time, like I said, this doesn't happen a lot because the tackles get beat pretty consistently in this spring game. But he had a nice pocket here, and he was able to fit it into the zone pretty well. So he knows how to read zones, and his receivers know how to sit down in them. To number 87, like I said, the tight ends had a good game, and it was a nice high throw. So he showed that he knows when you need to put the ball high and how much touch you need to put on it. In 1 minute 35 second mark, which is not too long after that play, it was another good pocket for Francois. Phillips, number 5 again, ran a good route, but he dropped it. So it was a good ball. It was a good route, and it was a good ball thrown by Francois, but he dropped. So there's a couple of drops there by Phillips that probably due to concentration maybe. And the 1 minute 30 second mark, Francois had good pocket presence to just check down and get rid of the ball. And then on this last play here that I analyzed of the second quarter, Francois decides to scramble, and then he dives forward. You know, a lot of times quarterbacks, when they scramble and they're about to get hit, when they slide, to avoid the hit, they usually go feet first. And that's been a discussion lately where when the quarterback goes feet first, his head and upper body are still in the air. And so when defenders come in and make the hit, they're already flying toward him. That usually leads to like head-to-head collisions from the helmet to the quarterback's helmet. So one thing I assume that they're teaching some quarterbacks to do now is when you dive, to dive forward so that your head goes down first. So even if the defender does hit you, they'll maybe hit your legs instead of your head. And he did kind of a forward dive there and was able to get a few extra yards out of it. So that's it for the second quarter of the Florida State spring game. I'm going to come back with the third quarter at another time. Thanks for paying attention, and leave comments in the section and let me know what you think about the video, and maybe even point out some plays that I missed, something that I can go back and look at. Thank you.